Good morning, Professor Freeman, and thank you very much for being with us on this beautiful morning in Bilbao at Deusto University. Professor Freeman is university professor and also professor of business administration and an academic director of the Institute for Business in Society at the University of Virginia Darden School of Business. He's also adjunct professor of stakeholder management at the Copenhagen Business School in Denmark, visiting professor at Nienrode Business School in the Netherlands, and adjunct professor of management at Monash University in Melbourne. Professor Freeman is very recognized because of the generation and continuous contributions to the development of stakeholder theory. I am Ricardo Aguado, Associate Professor of Microeconomics and Head of the Economics Area of Deusto Business School, University of Deusto. We are now celebrating the Company Day of the ISBEE Congress, which this year's title is Reinventing Globalization, Community, Virtues, and the Power of Purpose. Let's start with the aim of this ISBEE Congress. Do you think it is necessary to reinvent globalization? And if so, why?
Well, Ricardo, first of all, thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure to be in Bilbao again, one of my favorite places. I'm a little bit skeptical about big projects like reinventing globalization. I think what we do is we reinvent our businesses one at a time, and globalization gets reinvented. So if, for instance, businesses, as we see in the world, start adopting a more stakeholder-oriented approach, what we're going to find is the way we think about globalization, the way we think about supply chains, is going to be different. We're going to see businesses that are organized more as partnerships with their stakeholders and less in a hierarchical manner, which we're already seeing. Sometimes reinventing globalization means let's let the elites in society get together and decide how best to organize things. I'm pretty skeptical about those things because, you know, the world is complicated. We don't know everything.
Okay, yeah, that's true. In the first day of the Congress, Professor Danny Roderick has highlighted the fact that we need new narratives if we want to reinvent globalization. Precisely, one of your latest developments around stakeholder theory has been the creation of a new story of business. This could be understood also as a new narrative in the sense explained by Professor Roderick. Could you summarize briefly the main points of this new story of business?
Sure. I think there are kind of 5 ideas to the new narrative, and the only thing I did was try to categorize and write about what companies are doing.
Okay.
You know, the first idea is business is about purpose and about profits. Some people think purpose is all that matters. They're usually on the left. The people on the right think profits are all that matters, and they're both wrong.
Okay.
Purpose and profits matter. Business is about, idea number 2, stakeholders, no surprise, and financiers, shareholders, if you like, and others who own this. Again, both are important, and they're connected. Idea number 3, we have to see business as a societal institution, not just a market institution. We've paid, with all due respect, far too much attention to economists who only see it as a market institution.
Okay.
Now, the great economists like Adam Smith and Amartya Sen and Thomas Schelling and many others have understood that economics and society are connected with each other, not just through money and financial value, but through norms and values and those kinds of things. And we need to pay more attention to them, I think. But we need to see business as a societal institution. We won't solve global warming unless business is a part of it. We won't solve poverty unless it is. Idea number 4 is we need to see business as fully human and economic. Both those things. And 5 is very straightforward. We got to connect business and ethics. I tell people I teach business ethics. They have to manage not to laugh. They say business ethics, oh, it's a contradiction. Or I didn't know business had any. or theoretical subject or something like that, and we need to fix that. You know,
Okay.
So I think those 5 ideas add up to what I think Dunny was right about, a new narrative, a new way of understanding business.
Okay. Okay. So from academia, from universities, from business schools, how can we help corporations and organizations to integrate this new story into their strategic planning and also into the normal daily decision-making processes?
Well, there's a lot I could say here, but I think I would say, I think it goes the other way.
Uh-huh.
Companies are doing this.
Okay.
What we find in lots of business schools is professors don't pay a lot of attention to business. You know, if you go out and talk to business people and what they're doing, and if what you look for is they only care about the money, you might find it. But if you ask them about what they're doing for their customers, how are their employees engaged in the business, what the communities think of them, are they making money? You know, I think what you're going to find is a lot of businesses are engaged in that process of creating value for stakeholders.
Okay.
So I'm a little afraid that business schools run the risk of becoming irrelevant
Okay.
because we talk about theories, not about what's happening in business. One of the things as people were developing stakeholder theory, and I get way too much credit for that, is, you know, I was out talking to literally hundreds of business people trying to understand what they were doing. And it seemed just blindingly obvious to me, and I was really very young then, that they were creating and sometimes destroying, though they didn't mean to, they were creating value for customers, suppliers, employees, communities, people to money. Many years, 45 years later, it still seems blindingly obvious to me that this is what they're doing.
Okay.
You know?
For business schools, I think your answer is very, very important, and we have to reflect about that. But
Well, let's say one more thing about that. I think part of what makes business great is the fact that we can use our creative imagination
okay.
to think through things like the equipment in this room, our ability to connect with each other through social media platforms or through iPhone or whatever it is. And business schools need to pay a lot of attention to how do we build creative imagination in our students, because it's a muscle, and if you don't exercise it, it goes away.
Okay. So going back to this answer, do you think that business schools can play a major role here, educating the new generation of managers in this new story of business, and then developing reflection for example, in MBA students about this new story of business?
I think so, though it again, I have my own school to think about where we do a lot of this, but I think the thing we need to do more of is this idea of creative imagination, because how do you enhance creative imagination? You do it with the arts, you do it with music, you do it with I can't imagine what a creative place Bilbao is just because of the museum. You know, I was there last night and overwhelmed with the level of creativity that was throughout the museum. That's the thing we need to have business students think about. Of course, they have to be able to do the numbers. That's table stakes.
Okay.
But how do you really think through a problem like homelessness and find creative ways to solve at least a small piece of the problem? That's where we need thousands of people starting businesses that help us solve some of the problems that we face.
Okay. In this line, we can teach our students the new story of business and tell them to apply it in the organizations they are going to lead in the future, because it is the right thing to do, or because this new story might generate more profits for the business in the long term. Is it the same to to follow a finalist approach or an instrumental approach? Or do you think we should prioritize one of the two?
I think that's a false choice.
Okay.
People want to know, well, if I run my business this way, am I guaranteed to make money? My response to that is, if you want a guarantee, you probably should buy a dog that will lick your hand or a refrigerator, because they come with guarantees. Management theories don't come with guarantees.
Okay.
Management ideas, really.
Yeah.
A better question is, if I run my business this way, is it possible that I'm going to be financially successful? The answer to that is absolutely yes. The jury's out, is in on that. We have study after study after study that tell us if we run our businesses this way, it's possible that we make money. Now, think about the guarantee idea. People would say, well, if I try to maximize shareholder value, am I guaranteed to make money? I think the Great Depression and the global financial crisis, 2008, should have gotten your attention that there's no guarantee there.
Okay.
Same here, but the proof of possibility is there. And we know in our hearts it's the right thing to do. So are we doing it because it's the right thing to do, or are we doing it because we can make more money? The answer is yes. You know, again, some critics of business think profits are bad. That's a silly idea. That's like saying making red blood cells is bad. Businesses have to have profits to live. Everybody does, whether you're for-profit or not-for-profit. Everybody needs to get paid.
Of course.
And you got to have enough money left over to invest in the future.
Yeah.
And so this idea that somehow profits are suspect is a very, to me, naive idea.
Okay.
You need purpose and profits.
Both
you need
of
them
them.
both.
Okay.
You need do the right thing and figure out how to make money. And that's hard. That's hard to do.
Well, thank you very much for sharing with us your ideas and your insights. It's been a real pleasure to share this time with you. And I will not forget the importance of imagination to our business students. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Ricardo. It's been my pleasure.